I feel like with all the top fives at each position in the NBA, the small forwards is probably the easiest. This is kind of like an open and shut case, to be honest with you. Number 1 is LeBron James, and if you had any doubts that LeBron was still not only the best small forward in the NBA, but the best player in the league, after the regular season, I mean, it was a little understandable because he kind of hangs back in the regular season at this point. I mean, he's past 30 years old, he's content with his teams winning about 50-something games, and hell, you could say he was even cruising through the playoffs and through the Eastern Conference. But once it got to the NBA Finals against the Golden State Warriors, I mean, we know what LeBron did. He put on one of the best performances the NBA has ever seen, down 3-1 against the 73-win Golden State Warriors. I mean, the guy jumped from half court and blocked Andre Iguodala's dunk, so it was pretty damn wild, and LeBron James, he's the number 1 guy. Number 2, Kevin Durant. Probably the best scorer in the NBA still, although I think James Harden is going to lead the league in points next season since he's got Mike D'Antoni as his frickin' head coach. Durant's great, can score from pretty much everywhere. He's improved on his ball handling, his playmaking, his rebounding, and he's a very good defensive player. He also did just go to the Golden State Warriors, so everybody hates him now, and apparently he hid in his room for 48 hours because he wasn't ready for the criticism. What the hell is that, man? I'm already thinking that Durant's going to be crumbling under some sort of Skip Bayless pressure once the season comes around for the Warriors. But in terms of being the best small forwards, he's still number 2. Number 3, Kawhi Leonard. Best defensive player in the NBA. One of the most efficient players in the league last year. And that being said, I still think Kawhi has not hit his ceiling yet because I'm still looking for that part of his game where he just says, alright everybody, just give me the damn ball and get out of the way. Now I understand he's in the San Antonio Spurs offense, so that's not really something they're accustomed to, and Kawhi's personality is naturally laid back and not one to really step on other people's toes, but I feel like for San Antonio to be real title contenders, I think Kawhi has to do that, and I do think he's capable of it. I just think he's just got to do it. I mean, there's been a couple of playoffs in a row now for the Spurs where in the biggest game, Kawhi Leonard was a little lackluster. But I still think he has that in him. I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet. And, like I mentioned earlier, the guy's frickin' God mode when it comes to defense, so he's definitely number 3 here. Number 4, Paul George. And interestingly enough, I mentioned how Kawhi Leonard, I'm still waiting for that part of his game where he'll really just take over. Paul George already has that. The only reason I don't put him above Kawhi is because his efficiency from the field, it's a little not good. He was fantastic against the Toronto Raptors, but it's just tough to crack the top 3, man. I just think Kawhi Leonard is a bit better than Paul George. I also think that Indiana's bogged-down offense did not help Paul George when it came to his efficiency last season. And I think this year, hopefully their spacing is a bit better with Miles Turner in the starting lineup. And I mean, I already talked about Indiana before. I am a little concerned about how they're going to be able to spread the floor given that Thad Young and Monte Ellis are in the same starting lineup. But the talent has definitely been upgraded for them, so I think Paul George can only have a better season this year. Definitely be more efficient, I would hope. And number 5, Carmelo Anthony. The thing with Melo is he's still a fantastic scorer, and he was actually better with his playmaking this previous season. And I don't even know if I would say he's a good defensive player, but he's gotten to the point where he's at least serviceable when it comes to defense. I do think he tries on that end of the floor. The problem is Melo's just had crap teammates for the past, 2 seasons maybe? To the point where it's like, I don't care how good you are. There's no way in hell you're going to be able to have really, really good seasons when the talent around you is this bad. Now, going into this season, the Knicks are rolling the dice a little bit with Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah, but I do think that Courtney Lee, Melo, as well as Porzingis are going to provide enough spacing for Derrick Rose to operate, and I think we could see Melo playing off the ball a little bit more this season, which he is very good at, as we've seen him do in the Olympics. And I think Melo's going to be awesome this year. His age is getting up there, but when you're able to shoot like him from everywhere and body guys down in the post, I I feel like Melo's game translates really well as he gets older. And I think those are your top 5 small forwards, and I think that's pretty clear. I don't think there's much of a conversation. I think the one guy who's knocking on the door here is Gordon Hayward. Hayward could also improve on his efficiency. I think his field goal percentage is around like 44%, which is not great. I'm waiting for Hayward to have the real breakout season. He hasn't really had it. He's just gotten progressively better every season, which is good, but part of me believes like he might have capped out at 20 points per game, which, I mean, hell, I think we would all take Gordon Hayward on our teams, but when we're talking about top 5 small forwards, it's kind of tough to get in there. I want to see if Gordon Hayward ups his playmaking this season, because he does like to have the ball in his hand, and he has shown some playmaking abilities, not too much though. I think with George Hill as the point guard, a guy who is very good at playing off ball, and Rodney Hood can shoot, and they acquired Joe Johnson, and Alec Burks will hopefully be back. I think Gordon Hayward's going to have a lot of guys to kick out to. There's a chance he could up his assists to maybe 5 or 6 this season. That might just be hopeful thinking on my part, but I feel like Gordon Hayward can still get better, and I think this is the year to do it, given that I think Utah is going to be a hell of a team this season. So that's it. And like I said, the small forward position, it's pretty easy. It's about the easiest one out of the 5 positions to determine the top 5. I guess the only disagreement there could be between Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. I went with Kawhi. Some people think Paul George is better. That's fine. Discussion is healthy, and I'm done.